Hi there! I'm Nadira Jamal, hostess of the Belly Dance Geek Clubhouse online radio show. Welcome to this special interview series with some of the instructors from the 2015 Las Vegas Belly Dance Intensive. The intensive, now in its final year, will be held September 10th through 13th at the Flamingo Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. To make sure that you don't miss out on this epic event, visit bellydanceintensive.com. My guest today is Aslahan, who will be teaching the hows and whys of traveling moves. Award-winning Turkish-style belly dancer Aslahan has been performing professionally, delighting audiences up and down the East Coast since 2000. She has come to be known for her lyrical flow, fiery stage presence, and mastery of finger cymbals. Her passionate performances to 9/8 are unforgettable. A favorite of Turkish and Armenian audiences, she has performed at country clubs, museums, weddings, film premieres, holiday galas, and belly dance festivals, as well as appearing in music videos and feature films. You can check her out at aslahan.com, spelled Aslahan.com. Thanks for joining me, Aslahan.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Can you tell us about the workshop that you'll be teaching at the intensive?
This is one of my favorite topics, actually. I'm really excited that they chose this for the intensive. It's the hows and whys of traveling moves, obviously. The hows, probably you can guess, we'll talk a bit about technique and about floor patterns. What I think makes this workshop special is we're going to talk about the whys, why you would travel and why you would use particular floor patterns to communicate specific things to your audience.
Excellent. And so can you tell us a little bit about your teaching approach?
My teaching approach. My teaching approach. I try to be really interactive, to pay attention to what people are doing and answer a lot of questions. In particular with this workshop, there's going to be a lot of going through the motions. Obviously, we're going to practice some technique and we're going to walk through the stage patterns so people understand what we are. And then I'm really going to have people try to hold a particular intent for a particular traveling move in their mind, and in small groups go through and actually, get that feeling into their bodies so that they have that memory later when they're on stage.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of the benefits of digging more deeply into traveling?
Well, it probably makes more sense if I explain how I came up with this to begin with, and then I can kind of segue into that. This was inspired by people who contacted me about private lessons because they said, I don't travel enough on stage. Can you teach me some more traveling moves? And I was thinking, well, how do I really help these people? Because if I teach them a lot of traveling moves, probably what's going to happen is they're just going to have more moves in their arsenal that they don't use on stage. So I thought, why do people travel? Why do we do these stage patterns? What's the point behind them? Because if you're just thinking, I need to use my space more effectively, you have to know what that means effectively. Sorry, my brain went off in a different direction there. So you have to know what that means to use it effectively. Why are you doing this? It allows you to communicate more to your audience. You should be saying something to them when you travel. So when I see people who, don't use their stage space, it's usually because they don't know why they should travel. They're not motivated to for any given reason. And for people who do use stage space, often they're not really saying anything. They're just trying to cover more space because they think they should. So what I want is to give them, a reason to actually move so that what they're doing is infused with meaning. When they make space or take space up on the stage, they're doing it to really evoke a response from or communicate something to the audience.
Mm-hmm. And can you give us an example of one of the things that you can communicate?
An example. Well, one of my favorites is actually to startle, which is not something that people talk about a lot. But we like to do it, especially, I think, Turkish and American cabaret dancers. That's something that you could communicate by making a straight line to your audience. You can, give them that little jolt of excitement. They didn't see it coming.
Mm-hmm. And who would you say that this workshop is the most appropriate for? Are there particular styles or levels or personalities who would get more out of it than others?
I think I think it's good for pretty much any style. It's pretty much cross-genre. Turkish dancers obviously tend to not stand still very well anyway, so we already kind of have that built in. A lot of the people who have asked me about traveling moves were tribal-style dancers. I guess a lot of tribal dancers learn to stand in one place, and this can really free them up to move around more. As far as levels, if you're a very, very basic baby dancer and you're still learning your technique, this is probably something you'll get something out of it. It will be useful for you, but you probably won't put it into action until you start performing. But anybody who is performing in recitals or on stage or at restaurants, I would say of any style, I think will be able to use these principles effectively.
The newbies can walk through the patterns even if they can't dance through them yet.
Yes, actually, it surprises me when I watch my own videos how much of my traveling is just walking. I think people get obsessed with the idea of learning more and more traveling techniques, and they're not where the key, I think, to using your space effectively lies. Walking is actually a darn effective strategy.
And is there a tip or example from your session that you could share with us so folks can try this out at home?
Yeah, actually. I think it's Bert Balladine who is quoted as saying, if a dancer is good when she enters the stage, she will circle it before she gets down to the business of dancing. If she's very, very good, she will circle it twice. And I spent some time thinking about this because a lot of people come and they study with me and I make them circle the stage and they have a really hard time even completing one circle. They tend to cut off the back corner. So I was thinking, how do you make two circles and not feel ridiculous? What was Bert getting at here? And I think that the key is to have a different intent for each circle. If your first circle, when you come out, is to claim your space, to really like establish a strong presence, and then your second circle is a greeting to your audience where you come around and, you've established, here I am, this is my show, but oh, I'm so glad you're all here with me. Then you can really pull that off and create a strong presence, a strong presence and a great deal of warmth right there at the beginning before you even get down to the business of dancing.
And it seems like the energy and the tone would just be totally different in the two, even if you're just walking them both.
Yes, yes. It's surprising when you watch people go through the exercise of doing a traveling move, how different the two circles look.
I've heard that quote too, and I'm a big believer in it. And one thing that I usually do when I put that into practice is I just go in the opposite direction with the other one. Something about that's like, nope, not the same thing. I'm going the other way. So, what are you the most excited about for this year's intensive?
Well, I know this is the last year of the intensive, and it's actually going to be my first time being there. So I'm just excited to experience it for the first time. I have a number of friends, including you, I do believe, who have taught there in the past and have said really wonderful things about it. And it's also going to be my first time in Vegas. So I have a lot to be excited about.
Absolutely. And if I can kind of piggyback on that, one of the great things about this event is how many people you meet. Like there's this huge slate of classes and you want to take everything and you want to go to all these shows. But sometimes the best part is just like sitting in the hallway drinking water with people that you might have met on Facebook or people that you just met that morning.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. You have to remember to build a little downtime into events too. And you can really, I've built some wonderful connections the same way, just, chatting with people while you get a snack.
The other thing I like about the intensive is that, it's kind of this like huge, overwhelming thing, but there are enough like little pockets in the space that you can actually talk to somebody one on one every once in a while instead of the like 50 people in the room thing. And I know that's relevant to you because you have this great blog series on introverted dancers. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact, it was Rosa Noreen. I think she was the first one who wrote for my blog series, who talked about the necessity of building downtime into attending a big event, which was what I was thinking about when you mentioned that, just drinking water in the hallways. So I am an introvert and a performer, and I was surprised to learn how many of my friends who are also performers are also introverts, and how much time introverts, we can kind of be navel gazers. We do spend a lot of time sort of in introspection, And they had also spent a lot of time, like myself, thinking about, well, how does this affect me as a performer? Is it a problem? And if so, how do I overcome it? And I particularly was somewhat obsessed with, well, how can I leverage it? How can I make it a strength? And that's really where it came from, is conversations with various people about what it's like to be an introvert and to, get on stage in all your glittery finery and dance for a bunch of people you may or may not know. And the things that people have been saying in their submissions for the blog series have been really fascinating, really interesting stuff to dig into. It's given me a lot to think about.
Excellent. And, do you have any tips that you can share for folks who are going to big events like this on how to keep their sanity?
So I think Rosa really nailed it in her submission for the blog series, talking about how you need to build in some downtime when you go to these big events so that you don't go crazy. My own strategy is to make sure that I schedule a couple of days after an event to recharge, because contrary to popular belief, introverts are not averse to socializing. I like to socialize. I love people. But unlike an extrovert, it takes energy from me. It doesn't give energy to me. So I think one of the ways to keep your sanity is to make sure that if you've been at this amazing event surrounded by people and doing new things for 3 or 4 days, that you have a couple days afterwards where you can really just sort of drink tea and, catch up on email and not have to be on, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And if folks want to read this series, where can they find that?
Well, my blog is easily accessible from my website, which is aslahan.com. I think it's aslahan.com/blog, BLOG.
Awesome. And is the series still going? If people want to make submissions, can they contact you?
Yes. It's, there's something like 6 or 8 posts up, and I've got probably 6 or 8 more that people have promised to send me. And, if you are a self-identified introvert and a performer and you feel like you have some insight that you'd like to share, absolutely contact me.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for joining me, Aslahan.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, always.
And thank you, everybody, for listening. If you'd like to learn more from Aslahan, you can check her out at aslahan.com. Again, that's ASLHAN.com. Or better yet, join us at the Intensive. This is the last time that this event is going to be held, so don't miss out. You can register now at bellydanceintensive.com.